join me in welcoming Steve Zbranek.
Test, test. I was just sitting out there waiting for me to come on. Thanks. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me fine? I could talk all day on this subject. They only gave me an hour, so I'm going to really go fast, try to make notes. Everything I'm going to tell you can change your life if you're not doing it already. If you are, maybe I can give you some hints. If you think I'm full of bull at the end, then I will tell you how this is working well for us. Before we start, I'm going to give you my favorite builder joke you can go home and tell your kids. Builder dies and goes to heaven, and he's standing at the pearly gates with St. Peter, and St. Peter says, "I'm sorry, on my book here it says you're not good enough to get in here, but you're not necessarily bad enough to go down there." And the builder says, "Well, what the hell?" And St. Peter says, "Well, here's what we do. I'm going to let you go inside and look around, and then you can go to the other place and look around, and I'll just let you choose." Builder said, "Cool." So Peter steps away, the builder goes inside heaven, and he looks in there, and it's all waving grass and hammocks and wine and people chilling and everything you can imagine heaven would be, harps and angels. So he comes back out, and the devil grabs him. They go downstairs, and they open up a door, and it's country western music, deer heads on the wall, Texas Hold'em, pretty girls at the bar, putt-putt golf over there, pool tables, and just everybody having a great time. Devil brings him back up. St. Peter says, "So what do you think?" Builder says, "You know what? I don't know if this ever happens to you, but I think down there is a little more like me than up here." St. Peter says, "No problem. Take him away." Devil goes downstairs, opens up the door. It's all fire and brimstone, and people are wailing and suffering and everything. And the builder jumps back and slams that door shut. And he says, "Wait a minute." He says, "That is not the room you just showed me." And the devil says, "Oh, that was our model." I've done that in customer meetings before. They just didn't think it was quite as funny. Today they've asked me to talk about one of my favorite subjects, design build. I've been in the home building business for 42 years. Lucky for me, I started with America's largest home builder 42 years ago. Anybody in here old enough to remember who that might have been? Raise your hand. Do you remember? America Calls Us Home was our logo. U.S. Home. The time I spent, the 4 years I spent with U.S. Home, I credit to keeping me from never going bankrupt for the rest of the time, because production builders have a machine, they run the machine, everybody in the business has to understand the counting and everything, and they have a tight ship. So in my own career, every time I ventured off from what they did, I was always a little nervous that I was plowing unsold ground. Today we're going to talk about design build. So I'm going to cover it for you in an hour under 4 subjects. First of all, what is really design build? What does it mean in its truest form? And how would someone describe that didn't know what it was? Secondly, why should you do design build? Why should anybody do a design build job? Next, if you hear this and you like it today, how do you implement it? How do you implement design build? And lastly, the profit benefits of design build. Again, I told you that we've been in business for 42 years, and before I start telling you stuff that you think won't work or won't work for you, Tony and I's company, we don't borrow money, we don't buy lots, we don't build speculative homes. We only build houses for people that come to see us. So imagine our marketing. I don't have anything to sell, but if you want to build a house, please pick me over all the rest of the people in this room, and we'll make you happy. How do we get that message out, and how do we make that work? And how has that made it to where over the last 10 years our company's never made less than $1 million, and today we have $42 million in backlog of houses to sell, to close, that are already in our backlog between now and the end of 2023. And so we should stop selling, right? Because this is already July, and we just need to quit and move on down the road. Our overhead's grown, our business has grown, maybe everybody in here has. But it wouldn't if it wasn't for the stuff that we're about to cover. I want to find out who my audience is first. Anybody doing design build in here first right now? Raise your hand, let me see. Welcome aboard. We're going to share the secrets with them. Hopefully they're not in your neighborhood, okay? How many of you work cost plus with your contracts? Let me see your hands. Come on, cost plus. Anybody? How many of you do fixed fee? You just do so much, show them everything, and do fixed fee, all right? How many fixed price? How many fixed price? Come on, brave people, raise your hand. How many do fixed price? Okay? as I went through, we maybe have 100 people in here, and I don't think I saw more than 20 cumulative hands. So I'm not sure what everybody else does, but let's talk about what design build is. In a design build, the builder controls the design process from start to end. They control the budget from the beginning to the end. They control the schedule and the specifications and the buyers. So what does that mean? So in a company like ours, we have relationships with designers and architects, plan designers, not interior designers. Some plan designers are very, very talented. They just haven't ever gotten their AIA. Y'all probably know that. And they're not as expensive as the guys that can be in the elite crowd. So what we start with every customer when they come in is we ask them what budget are we on our way to. It's our pre-screening meeting. I hope everybody in here does this. Somebody comes to see you and they say, we want 4,000 square feet with a pool and an elevator and all this for $375,000, and you know that's not a match. But in our company, people go and see us online first. So before they come and see us, they've seen us online, they kind of understand what our product is going to be, and when they come in, we still have that discussion. Now, what about the people who don't answer this question? So what is your budget? Well, we don't really have one. Okay, so are we south of $2 million? And they're like, yeah. Well, okay, then you do sort of have a budget. We just haven't shared that today. But when we know what the people's budget is, then we can start drawing and this is mainly for the more experienced builders. Those of you just getting started need to learn this with somebody who knows what I'm about to say. But we can tell in the design phase if the people are getting north of their budget or not while the plans are appearing in front of us. I'm going to tell you one other thing. In our company, probably 40% of the people never meet the architect or the designer that's doing their house. And today that number may start going up with the advent of Zoom, because now we can Zoom meetings with people anywhere. So either you can get a in-house architect, which some people do, or you can hire subcontract architects. I sell against the guys that have in-house architects all the time. And why? Because their houses all sort of look the same. I mean, people do specialize as they get to be professionals in the business, and their profession keeps them in the same category. So we have we have 3 different people that we use. Some of them are better for contemporary, some of them are better for Tuscan, some of them are just better with personality, and so it's a personality match. They all charge us about the same amount of money, and when I sit and meet with the people, most of the time that person's not there. So in the very first meeting, we try to decide if there's ever going to be a second meeting, and we start with a budget. Then we start designing a budget. Now, when I used to teach the master builder classes, I did that for 25 years for NHB, I would have architects in my class sometimes, and I would ask this question with the builders and the architects. How many of you have ever had a customer come up with a set of plans that they had drawn, you priced it, it was higher than they could afford to build, and they never got to build that house? Anybody in here had that happen? Okay, this is the opposite of design build. Interestingly, I've had architects in the class, and I said, how many architects have ever drawn plans, got paid your $75,000, and the houses never got built? And they raised their hand too. The reason for that is that architects will tell you, even the best ones, that they don't know what costs are. They just draw what the people ask for. In design build, the people sit and ask for a $40,000 retractable glass door where you have to put an $8,000 steel beam above it, and then you tell her when it's open the birds are going to all fly in and she's going to absolutely hate it. Or you tell them it's a $50,000 option right here. People can see it grow as they move along. They can watch the house grow. There are 2 big things that can affect, and we know this, I'm not trying to teach you stuff, you know I'm going to teach you stuff to teach customers. One of the biggest things that affects how much is cost per square foot is the size of the building, not the per square foot of the air conditioned area, correct? So people will tell you, I've had them, you come to you too. We're downsizing to 3,000 square feet. Well, when you unroll the plans and add up everything, you're building 6,500 feet because you have a 3-car garage and a front porch and a back porch and an upstairs balcony, and none of the framers and none of the lumber companies or painters will give us that stuff for free. So when people start talking about how much are you per square foot, I've been starting to tell them based on the size of the building. Oh yeah, we can be 210. Really, that's cheap. Well, it's over the whole size of the building. Let's start talking about the kind of building that you're going to want. Tony and I as a company, Zbranek and Holt, I'm just going to throw us in here because I want you to see this works. We never bid plans. If somebody comes to us with a set of plans and says we want to get a bid, we're too busy for that. We won't bid the plans. There's an old saying that the lowest bidder is the guy who's willing to lose the most money. It just takes a lot of time. Oftentimes you don't get them. We don't try to be the lowest. We don't try to charge for our brand that we're the highest, but we're fair. We're always going to be fair, and we just don't ever build plans. Again, I said we don't have any debt. Well, bankers probably hate that. Guess who loves it? Customers. We tell them that in the first meeting. I'm not going to take your lumber draw and go pay for the cabinets on somebody else's house. So that's one of the profiles that we have. We don't do remodeling or renovations. Why? Because I think you got to really be good at something. You know, that's why Southwest Airlines pilots only can fly 737s, you know, and they get them really, really good at something. And if you are in the remodeling and renovation business and you want to take on a new custom build, get with people that have done that before. One of the stories I used to tell in my builder classes was that I remember the very first time in my career that we got to build $1 million house over the threshold. How did we get that? Well, we were in the parade of homes with an 800 and something, and the people loved it, and they wanted a bigger house and more of this and more of this, and by the time we hit total, that sucker was $1,025,450. I remember it today. Another number I remember is $29,000. That is, when we were finished and all the bills paid, we only lost $29,000 on that house because we had never done it. We didn't know what it was going to be like, and it was really hard for us to guess those things. Controlling equals the money. If you and I were talking to the same customer because they wanted to interview builders, we will do interviews, obviously, that's how you get the business. By the time they got to me, I would say, we're a design build firm, and we're like plans to plants. That's one of our motivations. We're plans to plants. We can take care of everything for you that has to do with the building. And another thing, if you decide that you like our system and you like us and you want to talk to our people and see our houses, then we will start drawing no charge preliminary sketches for you. Now this one just made everybody's gut stand. But this is what I do. I've worked it out with my designers and architects that on the first couple of meetings, I'm going to take the notes and have you put on a 1/4-inch scale kind of what it is that they're asking for. I do that because I want to see the building size. I want them to see whether this should be a 1-story or 2-story or whatever. But I tell them we'll do no charge 1/4-inch scale plans for you, design sketches, not plans we can build from, if you stop all conversations with other builders today. I'm not going to do this if you're still going around interviewing. If you're interviewing, go see all those people, and if you like us best, come back. At least 60% of the time, cancel appointments with people they have not met yet because they want to stay with us and get the free sketches done. What's my deal with the design guys and the architects? I tell them that I'll pay them $100 an hour for the preliminary design, so you're not working for free. If you take 7 hours to do this, I'll owe you $700. And if for some reason the people walk and don't buy from us, I'm going to pay them $700 and charge it to marketing, because that's what that really is, isn't it? If I can eliminate the competition and get them in my car, then the $700 is better than buying a radio ad or a TV ad, because I got to talk to people. Steve, how often does this happen? Almost never. Maybe 1 in 25 that we do that original sketch for walks. So the other deal with the plan guys or girls is that this preliminary work, I would pay you $100 if they go away, but if they stay, it's just part of your design fee all the way through. Do those guys like me? They love me, because I take all of the time away that they would have to spend with customers most of the time, and we develop a plan that these folks get to see. Now, when the lady says, I want this, and the husband says, I want this, we can see the budget grow. I'll just ask your questions for you. Steve, how often do the time that the people gave you an original budget end up spending exactly that much for the house? 50% of the time. The other half, they're going over. But they're going over right in front of their eyes. I'm showing it while it happens. I'm saying this is a $50,000 glass retractable door that somebody saw at the Sunbelt Builder Show. And if you want to do it, you can, or we can do regular windows, and we can put in a single door, and we can do that. And people get to see it happen as it occurs. Another thing is, the customers like it. I mean, we are on our way to somewhere from the very beginning. If they want to build a $1.4 million house, guess where we're probably going to end up at the end? plus or minus 1.4. And they like it all the way through. Guess what they don't get to screw with along the way? My money, profits, because we are a fixed price builder. We don't do cost plus. I am not the open book guy to come see my credit card bills and come see how all this works. We're a fixed price builder. If you buy a house from us, it's like buying a Lexus, except I give you allowances for your dash and your leather and all this. So we have about 8 allowances. Just this year, in case you ask, we started making lumber an allowance. And we just told the people that up front. And the people who had their lumber delivered in March and April sometimes wrote checks addition to us for as much as $50,000. Those same people that signed contracts in April or May, and we're going to drop their lumber in July and August, they're going to get some money back. So we will be transparent on those kind of things. We use a purchase order system. When we sign a contract with somebody, we issue a purchase order. Now, a lot of the people are giving us escalation clauses. Y'all have probably seen that come along. If this doesn't start within so-and-so, we're going to want this much money. How do you cover that, Steve? In the budget that the customer doesn't see, we have a contingency line item, and it might be $20,000, it might be $30,000, it might be something, but that is to fall those charges into there. Our margins on houses are so good. In one of my classes, the people said, why won't you do cost plus? Well, one of the answers is, I don't want to be evaluated one line item at a time. I've heard guys' stories of people standing in dumpsters and throwing the lumber back out on the ground because they already paid for it. The second reason is, they're never going to let you make the kind of money that we can make on houses, especially when you get north into the $2, $3, $4 million ranges. They get a good house. The houses, don't get me wrong, we don't screw anybody. Our houses are sold to market price. So if I'm building in a community where the houses are $3 and $4 million, mine's going to be too. I'm just smarter and charging and probably paying less than some of the other people doing that. And because of that, we get to make a lot of money. And the customer doesn't know, and the customer doesn't care. And why does that work? Because we're a design build firm. We control the plans, we control the customers, we control the specifications, we control the allowances. How do you handle it when people call you up, Steve, and say, I went to pick out my appliances and you didn't give me enough allowance? Well, that's a story that we've practiced in our company, and the answer is simple. What you're asking me is, why didn't I charge you more for your house in the beginning? Because if I gave you $40,000 and you picked out $50,000, it just means your house would have been $10,000 more back then. There's no such thing as a free $10,000. The difference is, if you'd have put it in up front, then it would have gone through all of our margin and overhead, and when you put it in now, it doesn't. Oh, Steve, you don't mark up allowance overages. We do not. That's something else that I use as a selling deal. If somebody goes over on allowance, if they spend $50 on a $40, I let them give a credit card to the appliance company, we give them a purchase order for $40, and we move down the road. Those of you that don't do that, I don't care. I hope you meet the same people that I meet someday, because this is what I'm going to tell them when they come and see us. So, how do you go from free sketches to working with them? We do have a design agreement. And a design agreement basically says you're going to give us, after we get the first preliminary sketches that shows us we're all on the same place on our way to the same place, we have a design agreement that they sign that helps cover the fees for the architect. Occasionally, I waive those. Who would I waive that for? Somebody who is on it, knows exactly what they want. Sometimes people will bring you a plan they drew out in their kitchen on a napkin and that's pretty close to what they want. If I know I can take them from hi, how are you, to sign a contract really, really fast, I blow right through the design agreement. We get into the plans further along. We get them far enough where we can bid them out, and we sign the people up. So in that case, the other thing that happens is, in our budgets are architectural fees. The people don't have to go pay another architect some money to get their plans drawn. If I give them a price for $1.4 million, that includes architectural fees. But Steve, then if they try to compare you to other builders and that's built in there, your price per square foot is going to be too high. That's all in presentation. When you give them a presentation before you sign a contract, the way that works with us is we give them a pre-contract presentation. Here's the price of your house. Here's what's included. And we put in there what the architects, engineers, septic, well, if there's going to be it, et cetera, impact fees, water taps. We show them all of that where they can tell. And then we go down here. House only is this much. Total project cost is this much. And on the house only side, we'll divide that out if the people are price per square foot sensitive. And that's how we do it. But When I tell the people, if you work with us, you're not going to go pay another architect. Okay, let's go to a different place. Steve, the architects aren't going to want to do this. How do you get guys to do this? Well, first of all, you could lose business with some architects in your area because they don't like the fact that they're not in charge. And these are the elite architects. You know who they are in your area. We've got some in Austin, where I'm from, and these folks have a long list of people waiting to get their plans drawn. I mean, the last time one of our people called one of them, they were 6 months out to get a preliminary sketch and 8 months after that for working drawings. So if the people were happy with that, they would go, and then they would charge them $10 a foot on the covered area, plus some other add-on fees if they wanted to do the 3D fly-throughs now with the virtual deal and all that. The people that work best doing what I'm talking to you about for an hour today are the ones right below them. We want the guys that want to be them, okay? You take a plan designer that charges you $2.50 or $3 a foot, do an outstanding house, get an amazing photographer, and tomorrow night win 3 awards on this guy's deal. He will be your new best friend, because then he's going to put it on his, and someday he'll be on his way to that next thing. But why is that good for us? Because they work for me now. I don't work for the architects. When we have had occasion where somebody brought us a set of plans, and how would that happen? Well, they're not bidding us. They just know somebody we built a house for, or they're friends of the family, and here's our plans, and you are our builder, okay? When that comes up, we tell the people, we will work for you, but we won't work for your architect. So if they have these design agreements with the architects that says they're going to supervise the job, we quit. I've done that one time in my lifetime, and it was horrible. Has anybody else done that? You ever been supervised in the field by an architect where they get to approve your draws too, you know, or they go through and check every nail? What a nightmare. I'm still alive and doing this at 42 years old, and I haven't killed any customers yet. So I've had to learn a few things along the way, how to keep us both happy when we get there. Design agreements. In a minute, I'll stop and let you ask questions. I'm just trying to make sure I get to cover everything before we're out of here. How do you implement, this is going to be a little spin-off, how do you implement design build successfully? Believe it or not, you don't just hang out a shingle and go, this is who we now are. This begins with marketing. What I want to do is I want to meet the customers first. I want to market to them where they call us and we get to talk to them. I used to tell the guys in my classes that you could be a better builder, you could be better priced, you could do it faster, you could be better looking, you could do barbecue better, but if the people are in the car with me, they're never going to hear about you. And that's my marketing plan. How does that happen? Today it's a little bit different than it used to be. First of all, I want to tell you my story of what I think about referrals. Luckily, I got outside of the home building business. Now, industry, not the business, but I've been the past president of the San Antonio Home Builders Association and Austin, but then I spent 2 terms as the chairman of the board of the Lake Travis Chamber of Commerce. Way different group of people. Now, one of our members is the Lakeway Regional Medical Center, another one is Lowe's, and each of them have thousands of employees. And then I have the toenail ladies and the dry cleaners and everything, and you end up having to understand how business works among everybody. So then I came up with this deal that I used at the chamber called the Steve 3 referrals. The first referral I call is the Hail Mary referral. You're sitting at home, watching Oprah, eating Oreos, and the phone rings, and you pick it up and say, hey, my name is John Smith, and Mary over here said you did a good job, and we'd like to talk to you about building a house. You're like, really? Thanks. The Hail Mary referral, okay? The assertive referral, you're sitting around, phone's not ringing, so you start calling people you know going, hey, you know anybody? I could look for some work here, you know, if I need to do some remodels or if you got anybody for houses. And you call people you know. Realtors do this over and over. That's called the assertive referral, and it's excellent. But at the Chamber of Commerce, I learned about the professional referral. What's the professional referral? That's when you send leads to people that you know. That's when you send your insurance man, somebody that wants to buy insurance. You send your car salesman, somebody that wants to buy a car. And you live your life giving referrals. And they call it giver's gain in the Chambers of Commerce. And it's something that's not in the halls of the Home Builders Association because we're all competitors. Giver's gain. Give out referrals. Think of the people you can think of. And then those Hail Mary phone calls will just start happening because you will become the go-to person for that. I've got a couple of car dealers. Do you think that I would like to know the owner of the Bentley dealership in Austin? Do you think that the owner of Sea Ray Yachts would like to know me on Lake Travis? I mean, why wouldn't this work? So you just have to be yourself and build your own model. But part of it comes back to design build, because I said you have to be able to meet with the customers first. Today in our world, there's something different, and it's called reviews. Not for you young people, y'all are laughing at me. Me and this guy get it, you know, a review. That's when a cop says you're going too fast. Here's a ticket for 53. Online reviews are so important, and they've become that way. I don't want to say overnight. I'll just say I woke up to it overnight and found out. Reviews in Google, reviews in Houzz, reviews in Yelp. What do those things do for you? Well, I'm going to come back to that, and let me tell you something it does for you that you don't realize. And that is, it moves your presence up in the Google search engines. SEO, search engine optimization. So if you get online reviews that are excellent, of course, you want those, and lots of them, it's cheap. So if you look up us, and I'll tell you all our website, we're zhcustomhomes.com. But we have, if you Google Austin Custom Builder, we're on the first page because we currently, I think last time I looked, had 27 5-star Google reviews. How do you get a 5-star Google review? Use the assertive business. Hey Jack, you like your house? Yeah, look, we're working on our search engine optimization. Would you feel comfortable enough to give us a 5-star Google review? That's an important way to say that. Or would you mind going on Google and tell us what you think? That's a bad way to say it. We had one customer give us 4s, and he wrote in his review that the only reason they didn't get a 5 is that I held them up on my decisions and the house took longer, and it was completely my fault. Who reads that? Nobody. They just see that it's a 4 and it takes your 5-star rating down. So you call people up and say, you can be in the framing stage. They don't have to be closed. Here's a misconception. Let's do a review after the house is over and see how the whole thing was. You can be in the slab stage. Would you mind going on Google and give us a 5-star review on how you liked it so far? Okay? Who else? Not just customers, your vendors. Would you mind going on Mr. Air Conditioning Man, going on Google, and you know we pay you quick, right? Yeah. And we keep the jobs clean, yeah, and I give you all of my stuff when I can, yeah. Would you go on Google and give us a 5-star review? Let me just tell you that when you are looking for reviews for people, you don't necessarily read the downline stuff except for the bad ones. No one's going to spend a lot of time reading 25 or 30 good reviews. So you can get these reviews from customers, you can get them from vendors, you can get them along the way. But what that does is it moves you up in this new world called search engine optimization for Google. What we've been told through other classes that I've taken, and this is part of design build because you get the people first. Today, people, if they want to move to Austin, Google Austin Custom Builder. So go ahead and, after you leave here, whatever city you're from, Lubbock Custom Builder, Waxahachie Custom Builder, whatever you want to do. See who comes up. See if it's not you, because that's who the people are going to call first, on the first page of Google. When you're looking for something, how often do you go to the second, third, and fourth page of Google? You just go through the first page. Understand the top part of this, I'm starting to lean a little over my skis, but I'll stay with it. The top part of that first page, though, is paid advertising. So you have to scroll through those, and then you get the earned ones because of rewards. People will go to the AustinCustomBuilder.com. They will see the people on the first page of Google, and they probably will click on all of the websites. Research has shown that there's only room for 5 or 6 on the first page. The people will click on every one of those, and what does that do? It brings up the home page of your website. So if you've been to website design classes, you will know that websites are like newspapers, and what you see when you open it up is called above the fold. When they used to sell advertising, they had above and below the fold. When you scroll the little thing down on the side, you get to see what's down here. Nobody does that. You get 16 seconds to make an impression with the first thing they see when they click on that deal on Google to see what they're going to see and make a decision if they want to stay with you or not. We did a lot of research. If y'all go to our website at zhcustomhomes.com, the first thing that comes up is some of these awards that she told you that we won. Like I was inducted to the Austin I was inducted to the Austin Builders Association Hall of Fame. That's up there, past president, blah, blah, these things. Because people, if everybody puts great pictures of houses, how do you differentiate from each other? So you got to figure out what you differentiate in. There's one guy in Austin that has a giant A&M up there. And I guess I've been told, because I'm more of a Longhorn, but Aggies hang. So if you're an Aggie and you're scrolling and you open it up and all you see is A&M, he's your bud, and you're going to move down and go see what's going on. Important. If you get the customers first that way, how many of you, another raise of hands, how many of you have ever sold a house off of the internet only? That was the only source. Half of ours are that way, at least half. So if you don't learn anything else that I'm telling you, now what don't I have to pay when they call me on an internet? Anybody? A realtor. A 3% realtor commission. I save all of those on the internet calls. And realtors are important, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute too, because you have to have lots of spokes on your wheel, not just one. But look at this. In 100 people, 2 people have raised their hand and said they sold the house off the internet. Half of all of the stuff, when I told you about the millions that we have coming, these are phone calls that Tony and I get every day from California, from Dallas, from Midland. Our calls from Midland stopped when oil went to 20. Now it's back to 76. We're getting a few phone calls again. But this is it. I should have done the hour on that instead of design build. But the reason that design build works for us is that we get those customers. They call me from California. They call me. 70% of our people don't live in Austin or Horseshoe Bay where we're building today. And that's amazing, because we're throwing our net out everywhere, and somebody is sitting in their underwear at 3 o'clock in the morning in Tennessee typing up Austin Custom Builder because their husband just got transferred there, and they come up and we win. I'm going to land the plane on that. Work on your search engine optimization. Go Google your city custom builder or remodeler or renovator or whatever you got, and see who's kicking your butt. If you're not on that first page, that's who's getting those phone calls, and that's why you're not raising your hand in this meeting. Secondly, take a really good look at your website and see what the people are seeing in the first 16 seconds. Why should they want to go? Build with us and we'll give you a free car. Whatever it takes. That's silly, but we figured it out a long time ago, and we've sold probably, when I say half is over many, many years. My daughter is an SEO expert, and one other thing she's taught me about the search engine optimization, it's kind of like being in a rowboat race. And everybody's got their paddles in the water, and you're going. And if you lay your paddle down, wipe your nose, 3 people will pass you up. So those of you that understand what I'm talking about, get this. We pay someone, her, to manage our search engine optimization every month to keep us on that first page of Google. Steve, what does that cost? Well, it costs us probably $2,500 a month now that we're established. It may cost a little bit more to get established. Remember your website, when I said that below the fold people don't look at? That's where you can write all kinds of things using the keywords that you need to use so that the spiders in the Google search engines pick it up and rank you up higher. Because the people, no one's going to read this. Steve was born so-and-so and went to the Air Force and did this. They don't care. They want to know about this. What's it going to cost? Let me see if I like your kitchens, your exteriors. And then people now call us up and say, do you have time to mess with us? Because a lot of people that they're calling are very, very busy. Realtors. Let's talk about realtors real quick. Real estate agents are a necessary evil in our world. And I am one. I'm a real estate broker. Hell, if you can't beat them, join them. One of the reasons I got my broker's license was years ago, when we did do specs in San Antonio, I figured out that 82% of the homes sold were not sold by the listing agent. We're paying somebody 3% to type it in and somebody else 3% to sell it. So I wanted to list my own specs. That's why I did it. A side reason that I kept it is now I get mail from y'all. Not necessarily y'all, but when builders send out things to realtors and everything, if you're a member of the board, you're on the blast list, and I get to find out everything that's going on. Those people know when Tesla's building a new building or Musk is doing this or whatever, and I get to find out too because I'm a real estate broker, I'm a member of the board, and they just send me information. How cool is that? But one of the things I learned in broker school was something called Procuring Cause of Sale. What is Procuring Cause of Sale? Procuring Cause of Sale is, without this connection, would you have gotten the deal? Without this connection, and that is the only test, folks. That's the only test. Every now and then you might talk to a customer for 2 or 3 times and a realtor shows up and says, oh, by the way, that's my people. There's nothing wrong with telling that person to go fly because they were not the procuring cause of sale. They just found out somebody they know is hooking on and they want you to pay them 3%. I got a lot more confident doing that being a broker. One time I took one into the office and said, you're not the procuring cause of sale. If you think that you are, have your broker call me and we'll discuss that. And they went away. Builders are afraid of irritating realtors, and you should be, but not unless they're trying to horn in on your business. So another thing we do with realtors is we pay them all of their commission at slab pour. And when I tell them that, you come bring us somebody, why don't they sell custom homes? Because it takes from now until Noah builds the damn ark and it rains again before they get paid. So we tell them that we'll pay you at slab pour, and we pay 3%. One other thing, this is a trade secret, but I'm going to tell you because you probably won't do it. We have some of what we call super realtors. Super realtors are people that completely believe in us. They've had a lot of success with us before, and they like the design build concept. They really like that they can just drop somebody off and pick up a check. For the super realtors, we give them 1% bonus to selling agent, okay? So they essentially get 4. What does it take to be a super realtor? It's very easy. This is Steve, your builder. Not, we're going to introduce you to 3 people, or go meet these 4 guys, or here's a list of folks that we represent. If you're a super realtor, that means no competition anywhere. You bring them to me. This is Steve, your builder. They're your client. They trust you. They build with us. How often does that happen? 25% of the time. We've got 3 agents that we pay that way, and I know when they call. I had a phone call from a customer the other day. The phone call went like this. Steve, I'm so-and-so. We just bought a lakefront property. I asked my realtor, Eric, to give me the name of 3 builders, and Eric said, I could do that, but you really just need to go build your house with Steve Zbranek. He goes, I know all these guys up here. You can go interview them all, or you can start drawing your house tomorrow morning with him and be in by sometime next year. That person gets an extra 1% for us. So let's review. We do the search engine optimization, stay on the first page. We have the top fold of our website to where it's important to people. And now back to design build. With design build, we meet the people first. We get to design to their budget. The design we do is copyrighted to us. Let me throw that out. So somebody might say, what if somebody takes that plan that you gave us and gets 2 other bids? Illegal. It says on there, we make a deal with our guys. It says copyrighted specifically for Zbranek and Holt Custom Homes. So if for some reason they wanted to close up the paperwork and go do somebody else, I just tell them, fine, but this is our plan, so you need to go with another builder and another architect and start over from zero and see what they can do for you, the same way you saw what I can do for you. I think I've covered most of my highlights. I want to make sure. I said this is why we do fixed price. We do fixed price, we do a pre-price proposal, and now all of my customers, I don't know if anybody of you do this yet, but all of our customers sign their contract on DocuSign. This is no longer a stressful sit down, press hard, there's 3 copies meeting. Because before the DocuSign contract goes out, we've been through the specs, we've been through the price, we've been through the proposal, and the DocuSign is just a formality. So my office sends them a DocuSign contract. The DocuSign shows up in my computer, and it says ready to sign. And then I call the people and give them what I lovingly tell my company, the Steve talk. This is like, okay, Jerry and Mike, I've got your DocuSign computer and my deal. All I've got to do is click sign and it's done, and we're going to go build a house. Before we do, I just want to go through a couple of ground rules getting into this. First of all, I'm way too old for home building to be stressful. So I need to know going into this, you're never going to yell or get mad at any of my people along the way. Now they laugh. Even the cranky people will laugh at this point. But I'm making a point that I can refer back to later. In the honeymoon stage and the contract stage, you can get a lot of things covered with people up front. And I'm like, if you have a problem with this, go. Another thing, I gave you allowances. This is the price. If you go want to spend more and you think that, tell me today and we'll tear up the DocuSign and I'll raise the price of your home and give you more for cabinets. But if you go meet Mr. Cabinet Man and he says, do you want fries with that? And all of a sudden you've got slip outs, pull outs, feet, and all this other stuff, that's not my fault and you can't be mad at us. So I give them one more thing, and then at the end of that, I click sign right in front of them. It shows up in their computer, is done. They wire money. We get a 5% deposit the day the contract is signed. They wire it. Another thing in our contract that we do is we design our own draw schedules. I've never worked on a bank's draw schedule in the last 15 years. We have our own draw schedule. This is how we want to get paid. These are the increments. And in our contract, it says that if you don't pay us in 5 days, we'll pull everybody off your house until you decide to change your mind. Occasionally you get one of those, and that's it. Here's some risks of doing design build. I've wrote this down. If you own the plans, then you own the plan errors. True. If we sell the house and the plans, and there's something wrong in the field with the plans and the roof doesn't work and the framer has to tear it down, that's on us. We can't go back to the architect or whatever. Those of you that ever tried to go back to an architect to do this understand how much fun that could be anyway. But you're right. Does that come up very often? Almost never. But when it does, we step up, we eat it, the plans were wrong, it's our plans, okay? Another thing, I talked about it before, you alienate some of the other architects that don't like what you're doing. Fine, write them off. Go get the other ones, get the ones right below them, get somebody trying to grow their business, get somebody hungry like you are and trying to grow your business, and have them partner with you and say, let's go do this together. And when I meet people with Michael, the plan designer that offices upstairs with us, Michael came out of school understanding how to write the code for Revit, and he's 28 years old. When I first had him do my very first preliminary sketch, he showed it to people in 3D. And I said, dude, I just wanted a stickman version of rooms and everything. But to him, it didn't seem any harder. So these guys are out there, and they can help you make a lot of money. Buyers wasting too much time. That's where the plan design agreement comes in. We have had people that have worked for 4 or 5 months on their plans. I just have them sign the agreement, go meet with the guy, and they keep me posted. So whenever the plan person or architect has new plans for the customer to see, they send them to me, and I send them to the customer instead of the direct talk directly to them. That way I can control the design still, I can make comments on it, and I can help control the budget. I mentioned before, but they may think that your price is too high because it contains the architectural fees, and I showed you how to separate those out. Some builders or your sales team, maybe you in here, aren't maybe as good as I am, or some of us are, at sitting down with a customer and getting a preliminary drawing together. If that happens, bring them into the first meeting. Let the customer meet the architect or the plan designer all the way through. Bring them in, let them see what's going on, and get them to do it. It solves the problem for you, and it really matters. So I'm going to leave with a final thought, and then I'll answer some questions. So I told you we've been doing this for 42 years. Our company is Zbranek and Holt Custom Homes. Sue and I, my wife and I, moved into our lake house 4 years ago, and we decided to start another small company. Now, this is really hard for a guy that builds $2 to $5 to $8 million houses, but we decided to start another small home building company called Christopher Custom Homes, and go give back to the community and build houses for first responders, teachers, nurses, etc. And I wanted to get houses back because I remembered from my production home 40-something years ago. So we started a company to build $280,000 to probably $580,000 houses in Granite Shoals and Kingsland. Those of you from Texas know that that's around Lake LBJ, on the wrong side of the tracks. Horseshoe Bay is on the right side of the tracks, and over there people pay $2 million for their lots. 2 years ago we closed 2 houses. We did start with 1 spec. We didn't borrow the money. Sue and I put the money up for the spec ourselves so we'd have something to show. Last year we did 1 spec and we closed 5 houses. This year we're closing 10 houses. Christopher's my son's middle name, and this is going to be a company that we're setting him up in. Wish me luck. And when we close these 10 houses this year, after $150,000 overhead in the 3rd year in business doing design build in these little houses, it looks like we're going to net $680,000 in our part-time job. This will work. It will work in any price range. People going to buy a $300,000 house from Pulte or me, we're going to sit with the design guy and design it. Now, it can be a lot of fun. The first time somebody came in and told me what their price was, I told the architect he could only have 8 windows. And there's 3 bedrooms. So now you got to really make it look smoking for the other 5. And it was a 2-story house. We had 3 on the front. Guess what we did? We bought black vinyl windows for the front with white board and batten stuff, a black comp shingle roof, and it looked like something that could win an award in-house, and it only sold for $310,000. So just for those of you that think this will never work with me in my price range, or it won't work for somebody wanting a $5 million house, it does any price range. You just have to set yourself up to do it. I could do this 1 hour on marketing, 1 hour on design, 1 hour on this. I've gone to people's companies before as a consultant to help them get started. That's not what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just telling you that if you don't do it, please do it. If you're not doing fixed price, learn about it, because you haven't made enough money in our home building business. This is a company, this is a business where you can make a lot of money. I tell my wife that every day. I said, we are so lucky that what I'm good at pays a lot of money, because I'm old enough to know that I've come in contact, and so have you, with a lot of people that are really, really good at a lot of things. It just doesn't pay as much as what God gave us our talent in, and that's how we should use it. Any questions? Anybody want to bring up anything that we talked about? Wow. Okay, ZH Custom Homes, my email address, if you want this. I've written a couple of articles for publication that I don't mind sharing if anybody asks for them. Cost versus price per square foot, that's been in several magazines. Architect versus builder first, that's been in a few magazines. If you email me and ask me for it, I'll send you copies of those. Sometimes I use those with customers before I meet them the very first time. So it's steve@zhcustomhomes.com.